Everybody on Zoom, you guys can hear me? You guys let me know if you can hear me. I don't know that they can hear me. Can people on Zoom hear me? Hello? 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 Okay. And you guys hear me? Okay, yeah, they can't hear me. No. Should I test it?
Yeah.
Hello, hello, hello. Oh, that's my, okay. Can you hear me now?
Can you hear us now?
Maybe we just do the regular and I can just stay close to it.
Can you hear us now? Test, test. Hello, hello. Oh, I know.
Oh.
What about now?
Can hear you now.
Hey,
Yay!
let's go.
Woohoo! Okay, great. Okay, so if you guys are on Zoom, I would love, we're doing definitely a hybrid because of the weather today. But I would love if you guys are on Zoom for you guys to come off of, show me your video so that way I can interact with you guys and we can really make this impactful for everybody. I'm really, really excited about this today. This is going to be a good training. Okay, I am going to share with you guys real quick on Zoom, and then I'm going to pass out. Will you guys, can somebody pass these out to everybody? Thank you. Let me share this link. Okay, if you are on Zoom, I'm dropping into the chat the, let's see. Oops. Chat, here we go. Okay. Okay, I'm dropping into the chat a differentiation statistics, key strategies that we'll get to in just a second. Okay, I'm putting on this mic too. Holy cow. The technology is just really intense. Okay. Okay. Again, if you guys are on Zoom, please, please, please come off so so I can show me your video. I want to see your guys' faces so I can interact with you guys. Jack, are you on the Zoom also? Would you be on Zoom and monitor the chat for me? Okay, you guys can also please come off mute if and when you want to chime in on stuff, okay? I'm just gonna move this a little closer. Okay, so today we are training on and we're talking about presenting the exclusive right to sell to sellers and just really ensuring that we know how to present that in a way that mitigates risk, ensures that people, the sellers that we're presenting to, understand what they're signing and what they're getting into. I have heard some stories over the years of what happens when we don't do this very effectively. And for example, okay, a couple years ago, we had a situation, or I heard a story. It wasn't with the team, but I heard a story where an agent rushed through explaining the exclusive right to sell, and this essentially just stating, this is standard paperwork. There's nothing really this is just standard stuff. And the seller signed without understanding those key terms, right? Especially the protection period. Okay. And so listing failed to sell. The protection period was like 3 months long. They frustrated seller signs with a new agent, and protection period is still is intact. And that listing goes under contract with a buyer that had previously seen it, right? And so the original brokerage comes back and demands the commission check because the protection period covers that. Really sticky situation. Seller is now, okay, so hearing that situation, what does the seller have to do in that situation? How does the protection period impact the seller? Yep. They have 2 agents. They have to pay both people. They have an effective agreement with 2 agents to sell the same property. And both of them were at 3% or whatever it was. Yes. Yes.
So if it's a newly sourced buyer, then it's only the broker that is current.
Correct.
If a buyer saw it during time, so buyer A, buyer 1 saw it with agent A, not even saw it with saw it at that ERS. If that buyer buys it after, like during the protection period, after
Yep.
they did still.
Can you guys hear Mona? I just want to make sure the mic is working. Yeah? Okay, cool. Yeah, so really, and this can happen on the buy side of things too, right? Like if you don't really clearly explain your BBA, and if we don't explain it in an eloquent, tight, succinct manner, then, and we have had situations like this very recently, where we essentially, because of the BBA, we have procuring cause, and we've actually had successes with this, with saying, nope, this is the situation. This is how this is going to go. I mean, just in the past couple months, we've had that. So we obviously want to be the agent who is having those successes, who is giving incredibly clear instructions to our sellers, right? The sellers don't care about the paperwork typically. They care about what it means to them. So we just need to make sure that that's really clear. Cool. Okay. So this turns from a contract conversation into a value conversation, right? Confidence sells with this. If you sound uncertain about a particular point, they will know. Does anybody have a story or something else to share on that point? Confidence sells. If you sound uncertain, they're going to know.
Makes me feel good, but they have to kind of trust you, we'll sign whatever you want, and are like, oh, you guys are honestly sign so much,
Yeah.
But this is I do point out that period, I point that say this is protected. This protects if you guys buy a home that I show you within months, I'm entitled, and then
Yes.
But that's just how I phrase it. Doesn't have to be like this. Feel
Yeah.
like the ERS, they're big, like, and it's a lot. But if you just point out like the point, it's so easy to make it sound nonchalant instead of like we're gonna step into this like marriage with each other. Like
Yes.
bullet point. It like keeps on, but but it doesn't make it sound daunting thing.
Totally. I could not agree more. Just being direct about it is absolutely the way that we all should go. When you find yourself belaboring on a point or getting too many words in your mouth, that's when we trip up. So just be direct. I charge 3%. If we have an unrepresented buyer, I charge an additional 1% to cover the liability of all that kind of stuff, right? I would recommend we charge this for the buyer's agent commission on this home. Here's my protection period. This ensures that if any buyer sees the home during the time of our agreement and they come back after our agreement expires, I am entitled to the commission. Boom.
The BPA longer minutes to go, but it takes 5 minutes to wait long.
Yes.
The new ERS, it might take like 3 to 4 but I think too long for minutes is like
Totally.
Pull it out. Look, here's the agreement, no matter what. Thing that people care about is how do I explain it? Point on there. Have a question.
Yep. I love this line. It's like this agreement ensures that you are getting my full commitment and my full services and all the protections within it. Like this is for you and me certifying our relationship. Like I do think it's important to state that. And these are the details within. But and the one thing that I would really highlight in there is certain things like um, the professional advice one, where it's like, I am not an attorney. I am also not a financial advisor. I'm not a tax expert. I cannot advise you on those things, right? But what I can advise you on is the real estate contracts, negotiations, all of that kind of stuff. I think that is really important to highlight. And then also our fiduciary duties and literally highlighting that across the screen or on the paper. These are my fiduciary duties in that section. What is it? Section 8, I think, or second page. But okay, thoughts, questions, comments, concerns. Anybody on Zoom? Loyalty agreement. Yes.
So like that's I want like another like ERS like I don't think loyalty would work ERS.
Right.
I do like that.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I agree. For the BBA, a loyalty agreement is fantastic. I think one thing, and I kind of mentioned this in team meeting on Tuesday, I feel like me right now, I feel like I'm excellent at explaining the market to clients in a way that they understand, right? You know, if you were there on team meeting, you heard me say this, but like there's a big difference between these blanket statements about, oh, prices are leveling out and you know the market's really stable right now, or whatever your buyer's perceptions of the market are. Oh, I'm waiting for rates to drop. Oh, I'm waiting for prices to come down even further, blah 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 blah. Like whatever their perception is, you can still have a really education based and like valid data driven conversation with them regardless of what their perspective is, by telling them that might be true, right? And if they're like, oh, prices are too high, and I really believe that prices are going to continue to come down, that might be true, right? Nobody has a crystal ball. We have no idea really what's going to happen. You may have a difference of opinion, but it is not the point to disagree with them at that. It is the point to say, that might be true. Now let's talk about how we accomplish your goals right now and just reframe that objection or that lens in a way that allows you to get the transaction done or keep them moving, focus on the right things right now, right? So have some hands on Zoom. Okay, what do we got? Gail? Hey.
I was just I don't know if I don't know if I missed something or if somebody missed what Bailey wrote in the chat. She raised a really good point. I don't know if you want to quickly read
Oh,
it
yes.
and explain that, because I feel like that's always been a part of it that's a little bit confusing to me and to a lot of people as well. Because if you actually read the protection period section, it does say that if another agreement was signed with another listing agent after termination of that first ERS, the seller is not necessarily entitled to pay, like doesn't necessarily have to pay that first brokerage.
Let's see.
And I know like
If they didn't sign, if they didn't sign another agreement, then the protection period would be.
Yeah, and
Well,
I kind of agree with what Dale says. Yeah, I think that's the big thing. It's like, because I know we're saying like, oh, no matter what,
yeah.
they might have to pay, but that section says a little different.
Yeah, good call, Bailey. Okay, and Gail. So this is interesting. So maybe this has changed in the last couple of years.
They probably changed it.
Yeah.
Because
This
they
is
were
why
trying
we're
to make
here.
it fair for the consumer, right?
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so it literally says protection period. If within blank months after the termination or expiration of this listing agreement, the property is acquired by any party whom it was offered or shown by the company or the seller's agent, the party's representative, or another real estate agent during the listing period, blah, 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 whatever. The seller agrees to pay the company the brokerage fee stated in section 2, unless the seller is obligated to pay a brokerage fee on acquisition to another brokerage based on another valid listing agreement entered into after the expiration or termination of the listing agreement. Okay, so yes, so this is a great new update. So the protection period is only enacted when the listing is not signed by a new agent. So if it's signed by a new agent right away, right after, then your protection period is null and void. Good to know. Yep.
They were retrying to list expired that
Yep.
is that no longer
Love it.
there's no of previous brokerage if they have a new valid direct.
Amazing. Fantastic.
Seller sell as buy with the then they need
Well, it doesn't say, however, it doesn't say that, okay, what it says is you're entitled to the fee in the protection period, unless they're obligated to pay a brokerage fee to another brokerage. It does not say, so that's very different than saying they are going to sell to somebody who saw the house and they don't have an agent, right? It's if there's another agent that comes in place, then you do not have the protection period. But it doesn't say if they sell on their own without any agent, right? My thinking is that if they do not re-sign with another agent, then that protection period is absolutely in place. Yeah. Okay. Cool. I'm glad we got that cleared up. Thanks, everybody. Okay, so let's go back to setting the expectations. Okay, so step 1 of explaining the ERS very, very, very eloquently and succinctly is stating something to the effect of, I am representing you to help you understand the complexities of the market. This agreement that we're about to go through right here ensures that you get my full commitment, protection, and the highest level of service, right? That's setting expectations. It's the first thing you're going to say when presenting the ERS, okay? The next thing you're going to do is just kind of go through those the main sections of the ERS. You're going to go through the term of the listing. You're going to go through brokerage compensation. You're going to go through protection period, agency relationship, advertising authorization, and this professional advice clause. Those are the main things. Now, when we go over those main things, those are likely going to be the things that people will have objections to as well, right? Namely, term of the listing. If you're like, hey, I want to sign this for a whole year, and they're like, oh, I really would love to do a shorter term. What do you say? And they're like, when they object to the term, yeah. Okay, why? Great, first question. Yep. So they're like, ooh, how long do you want to lock me in for? What do you say? Why? Why are you concerned about that? Then what?
By any margin, the first set of buyers that gives us the market to allow us to get the next set of buyers. If at any time you feel like I'm not buy the property, I'm open to discuss
Totally. I love that, saying it's a cycle and saying shortening the term. What we need to be focused on, you got to switch the lens again on this. What we should be focused on, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, is getting your home sold faster, not shortening the term of this. My job here is to make sure that we get your home sold for the most value, the highest price point that we can, in the shortest amount of time that we can. Shortening the term kind of goes against the idea of, we don't want this to be a fire sale. So if we shorten the term, that can impact how quickly we need to make adjustments and how much we potentially would need to drop the price, because we have this deadline that we have set for ourselves, right? So let's not shorten the deadline. Let's just talk about refocus and talk about what we're actually going to do to ensure that this happens in the time frame that we need it to. Cool. So I think that's a really good objection handle for that. Any other additions to that one?
Let's say we sign on, now we're
Rob.
for 3 to 6 feet or whatever, depending on how much.
Well, he really knows the person well, and it's close by.
Oh, hang on. Yep.
Yeah. Saturday, but like,
How do I get, where are they? Oh, here we go.
You can come back, but it's definitely not his preference. Yeah, that's true. Okay.
Wait, what is happening?
Oh,
Whoever is on Zoom, please mute yourself.
okay.
If you go, I'm going to reclaim the host.
But we haven't had more than one a year.
Mute
But
all
they
upon
would have to
entry.
go to a premarital
Mute.
Christian premarriage
Oh,
counseling.
oh, okay, I got it. Christian premarital counseling. Well, this is fun. Wow. Okay, I muted him. Okay. Okay, can you all hear me now? That was really fun. That was a fun thing that we just experienced together. Okay. And you know what the crazy thing about that was? It was iPhone. There was no name on it, so we'll have no idea whoever said that. It's a mystery. This is like the team mystery that we all needed. Okay. Okay, fantastic. Okay, so term of listing, and that's a potential objection that we get to term of listing. It's like, ooh, that feels really long. It's like, well, let's not focus on that. Let's actually refocus in on marketing and what we're actually going to do to get this thing done, rather than setting this arbitrary deadline. I think, again, I've said this a couple of times recently, but like, we're putting the emphasis on the wrong syllable when we're talking about that. You know what I mean? Like, let's reframe this and focus on what is in our control.
Sure.
Yeah, 100%. That's a pun. It's a joke. Okay. Okay, brokerage compensation. That's the next thing. What's the common objection to brokerage compensation? Yes. Totally. So it was Edry. Why'd you tell us? She's chimed in on Zoom and told us who it was that was talking about. That's so funny. Okay, so yeah, so common objections. You're paid too much. I don't think my neighbor said they'd do it for 1%. Can you give me a discount? Can you match that? Do I have to pay it all? All of these things. Totally. So what about the listing side of things? Okay, so let's reframe this and talk about the listing agent commission side of things. Buyer's agent commission, sure, we can talk about, and we can, right, but let's really focus on that first part, the listing side of things. I mean, what I would, one of the many things that you can say, and you guys, we're each going to have to figure out exactly what feels good when it's coming out of your mouth and your perspective, your value as an agent, right? But what I would say is, okay, for example, the objection, my neighbor or said they do it for 1%, right? Ah, that's so interesting. Tell me about their marketing. Ah, that's really, ooh, man, that's really awesome. But yeah, yeah, that's really awesome. But like, tell me how they're going to afford to market your property effectively, right? A lot of the times, it's essentially saying, hey, my job here, like we had talked about during the term of our agreement, is to sell your property for the most amount, for top dollar, right? Top dollar, and in a timeline that makes sense for you. And in order to do that, there are costs to this, right? Now, what I'm afraid of is that with this other person that you're chatting about, right, doing it for 1%, I'm afraid that when you have an agent who's willing to discount themselves, they're also going to discount you. Cheap agents cost you money. It does. It costs you as the consumer money. Now, this is where you guys, I put together some statistics and some strategies and things that we can combat that with, right? Namely, this was like a huge thing that was going around on social a couple weeks ago, but 71% of realtors in 2024 sold 0 homes, right? That not only is that a majority, that's like a vast majority, okay? Yeah. Oh, we would like to lean into the distortion then in the listing, right? Like 100% lean into it. We don't need to know. Your seller does not need to know that. Lean into that distortion for sure. Okay. That is a good stat to just lay out there. 71%, and you can say a lot. So therefore, yes, for sure, there are some agents that are overpaid. If that agent who sold 1 home last year is coming to you and saying, I charge 3%, you should have your flag raised about that. Should be a little bit of a red flag. Ooh, you should be able to have a confident discussion with somebody sitting across the table from you about what they bring to the table, and it should make sense, right? If it doesn't make sense, they're likely going to discount their commission. And is that the agent that you want representing you? Yep.
My issue is that how
Mm.
to avoid this. One, I should have got the ERS signed, but last year I lost the listing. And the listing appointment, I didn't get the ERS signed right there, which I think that's one of my problems. But
Totally.
then like a week later, they're like, "Hey, Mona, like thanks for your time, like decided to go with your agent." And in the technical, they're like, because they're charging us less. Thankfully, I like go back in the MLS and it doesn't sell. I'm like, oh. But I sometimes that objection doesn't come up. The list will come up after.
Yeah. Yes. So I think you hit the nail right on the head. I think talking about it preemptively here on Zoom, I just reshared that doc with you, and you guys all should have access. Apologies. Talking about it preemptively in your listing appointment, whether like, okay, who's had a listing appointment where you're like, I've got this in the bag. Like, I'm not worried about it. You're like, they're going to list with me because they love me, their family, their friends, their family, their referrals, right? You've got it in the bag. Even those appointments, you should be talking about this stuff. Absolutely. You should be saying, hey, look, I know you're not interviewing other agents, and I'm so glad that we have this already built trusted relationship, but I do want to commend you for making this decision, or I want to blah, 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 however you want to phrase that. But I do think it is important to talk about for sure, to say, look, only 71% of agents didn't sell a single home last year. I sold X number of homes. So not only am I in the top 29%, but I'm in the top, and you could just throw a number in here, I'm in the top 5%. I'm in the top 1% with my team, right? My team is in the top 1% of performers in this industry. That matters. I'm not saying this because you are interviewing other agents or because I'm trying to show off. I'm saying this because it matters to you. Because I take this seriously. This is professional, right? I'm saying this because it matters. Yes, Alex.
You're representing. So I don't think if you have that conversation, I don't think you're good.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Are we leaning into team stuff?
For sure. Yes. We're absolutely leaning into team stats. You can use the alliteration that we went through last week that was it was like precision. I can't remember. I'll revive all of this stuff, but you can come up with your own alliteration for team stuff, like something catchy like that. But precision, partnership, and proven strategy, right? So yes, you're leaning heavily on the team stuff, but you also, over the next couple of weeks, we are going to really dive deep into exactly what you as an agent, because you're a part of this team, do for marketing, right? And in the following weeks after that, we are going to lean really, really, really heavy into and doing a ton of workshops on creating your value as a listing agent. Like, what is actually true for you? A lot of that is bolstered by and built off of the foundation of the team, for sure, right? But you will have crafted in the next 4 weeks, you will have crafted something that is really, really tight and really punchy for you to say. Cool. But yeah, like this right here in this industry snapshot, these are really solid stats to rattle off, right? 71% of realtors sold 0 homes. The top 30% of agents close the vast majority of deals. We are the solution, not the statistic. Okay, you can say the greater we. We sold over 1,100 transactions last year. Why that matters to you is because we have a market share here. We are in the market. We last year sold our listings. This is an actual stat on TPG Stats. We sold our listings 99.8% of the list price, whereas the national average is an entire percentage below that. But that's national average too, right? Like, think about the difference. Yeah, like you can lean into the calculation of an average and how really truly remarkable that is, that we are 0.2 of a percentage below 100% of list price, right? And the national average is 2 percentage points below. Okay, Also, I'll have to double check on this, but you see this in here. It says 15% of of our transactions are off-market deals, meaning we have access to buyers and sellers that others cannot. We have been saying 20%, but I just did the math this morning again in 2024, and I think it's closer to 15%. So anyway, that's what we call a boo number. Where he comes in and he's like, it's 20%. Okay, cool. What if we get the objection about, I want to try selling on my own? This is really expensive. I just still don't see it. What do we say? Yes.
Said do your research for your appointment. If you, based on the comps that you're pulling to get the proposed value, call those comps, see what the commission was, show the seller the average like based on market, based on
Love that. Love that. Okay, so the comps for specifically the listing agent too, right? You could get both of them, but make sure you don't just get the buyer's agent commission that was offered, get the listing agent commission. That is really, 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 I love that, Carly, love that. We want to know how much these agents were paid for and if there's a correlation between the direct comps. Again, micro market. Every single listing creates a little micro market based on your pricing strategy, your marketing strategy, all of that kind of stuff. So if there's a correlation between the comps listing agent being paid 3% versus this other comps listing agent being paid 2%, and these days on market are significantly less than these days on market, we want to be able to paint that picture and tell that story. I love that. Love that. Okay. Okay, so I want to try selling my home FSBO, right? If who's gotten that objection in a listing appointment? How'd you handle it? Okay. Yep.
Followed up with no, only just realtors are calling in. I told them I already had an agent. Yep. You want me to come over and pick this back up? Yeah, sounds great. Annoying, isn't it? Yes, it is.
Totally. I think it's the question of how much is your time worth? If somebody were to say that to me, if they were to be like, oh, I'm really considering doing this by myself, I would say, oh, that's like great. Like that could be a huge success for you. How much time do you have to allocate towards this? Maybe they work full time. Yeah. Like, ooh, I would love to support you with that. Tell me, what is your strategy? You know, what are you going to do? How are you getting, what are we listening? How are you planning to market it? Like, let me be, and this goes back to what was that, team meeting a couple weeks ago, where we did a live role play, a situational kind of, where Emily was talking about provide value free of charge. Provide the value, give them the feedback, share that stuff. When you start to share all of those things that you do as a professional real estate agent, they are gonna, you'll see their eyes go, holy shit. You know what I mean? Like, that's a lot. I didn't think about marketing it. I didn't think about, I didn't think about I didn't think about the negotiations. I didn't think about the inspection. I didn't think about scheduling these things. I didn't think about, yes, taking photos of this and making, and professional photos. Exactly. Yeah. I didn't think about figuring out how much I need to offer in buyer's agent commission. I'm doing this on my own. So,
Max, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, so something that I do, and I don't know if it's right or wrong, but it works. So when somebody brings something like
like that up, like, hey, I'm gonna do it by myself or whatever. Like, do it like in an eloquent way. Like, you're not talking down to them, but tell them things that they have no fucking idea about, that they haven't considered, where it's like, no, totally great. I understand that. Make sure when you receive the contract that this box is checked this way, because it can make the biggest difference here or there. Make sure when you get that offer, that you vet the lender and make sure they're actually pre-approved, not just pre-qualified. Just like little things that they're like, wait, what? Like things that they haven't considered, or just, just to make sure that you're okay, you have to do these things, because they're like, oh, I haven't even considered that.
Yes.
And it'll change their mind, because they're like, oh, I thought I was just going to post a KSL ad. They don't realize all of the other things that go into it.
Totally. Totally. I just have a client right now who is, I just secured, which so excited. I just secured their luxury lot listing in Huntsville. It's sweet. Like the plans for this home are like that, we'll sell it with the plans and all that kind of stuff. Once the home is built, this home is going to be worth like 3.75, 3.8, right? We're going to sell the lot for 1.75. But how I secured that listing was they have this lot to build on, and the cost of the build just was getting too expensive. And right around the corner from this lot is a brand new home that just went on the market that is in their price range. So they were like, well, let's just buy that. They're buying this one cash. They don't feel like they need a buyer's agent. It's a cash transaction. I'm not telling them that they do need a buyer's agent, but I go, send me over the contract so that way I can look at it, right? Completely free of charge. Just gave them some adjustments. It's a cash transaction. So I told them, I was like, make sure you guys still can get, the way that this listing agent wrote the contract was non-contingent on financing and non-contingent on appraisal. I was like, just because you're cash doesn't mean you can't get an appraisal on this property, especially when it's a built home. You should get an appraisal on the property, right? So I suggested, I was like, counter back with this term, and this is why, blah, 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 sent them this nice email about it. And they were like, perfect, thanks so much. Also, will you come over and give us a full listing presentation for our luxury lot to sell and our South Salt Lake home to sell? So I got 2, right? Free advice. And to Carly's point, talk about the things that they don't understand, for sure. Highlight your expertise. So that way they're like, damn, they're good. This guy's good. This girl's good, right? Okay. Love it, love it, love it. Any additional thoughts on that point before we keep jamming? Fantastic. Okay. What I kind of want to do right now is these stats are really, really, really cool, and they're really cool when you start to like rattle them off, right? So what I want to do right now is dive into some role play scenarios, and try to use these stats in them. Cool. So because we're doing a hybrid session, what I'd love to do is maybe get somebody on Zoom to be agent and somebody in the room to be the seller. Cool. You be the seller. Okay, M's going to be our seller. Who on Zoom wants to chime in and be our agent? I'm not looking at you guys. I'm looking up here. I'm going to start calling on people. Okay. We can do someone in person. Does somebody want to be the agent in person? We got to get some energy in here. Come on, y'all. Who wants to be our agent? Oh, yeah. I have had so much coffee today. I'm like sweating. It's freezing, but I'm still sweating.
I'm almost home from preschool pickup, and then I'll be the agent. You got to give me like 3 minutes, though. You want to cover something else?
Yep. I love it. Thanks, Carly.
Yep.
You're doing the most. Everybody give Carly a round of applause. Yeah. Like, seriously. Does anybody want to save her from this and chime in and help us out? Bailey?
Try it.
Caleb? Caleb, I love it. Let's do it. Okay. Okay, so you can see Emily on the screen right now too, so you can actually see her voice. we're going to fast forward into this, so we're not doing necessarily value stuff, but let's just fast forward right into some objections. You can pick any objection that we've gone over. Um, really, they're basically like, what if I find my own buyer? Can we do a shorter listing period? I can share with you this doc. Why are you charging what you charge? Or I want to try to sell my home on my own first, something like that. Cool. Okay. 3, 2, 1, go.
Okay, Caleb, you start.
Okay, I'm being the agent, right?
Yep.
Okay, so, I mean, wouldn't you be giving me the objection, or how is this?
Hey,
Okay.
this was a great presentation. It was really knowledgeable. Is there any wiggle room on your how much you're paid? I had someone tell me that most agents will do it for like 1 or 2%.
Okay, yeah, I'm just kind of curious, why is it important to you that you kind of get that lower commission?
Well, I'm gonna be buying a different house, so and relocating. So for me, like an extra 5,000 goes a long way if I'm gonna be moving.
Yeah, yeah, I totally understand that. And I think it's important that you kind of understand what we get paid for. Really, it's our job to really save you time and energy when it comes to listing your home. And that commission helps cover, when it comes to marketing and everything like that. So we're giving you the service that you actually deserve, and that we can get your home sold as fast as possible and for as much as possible. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that does make sense. But I feel like we can still do that even if we're doing it at like 1.5, right?
Yeah, totally. There are agents out there that are going to be willing to discount that commission for you. But really, what it comes down to in the end of the day is that you're more likely going to also get a discounted service, and they're going to be more inclined to discount their negotiation for you as well. Having, an agent at that higher commission price is going to just incentivize and give you the best that you can be. We're the #1 team, so we're seeing more transactions than any other team here in Utah. So we're ahead when it comes to negotiating and what truly works. So you're really paying for top of the line service.
Okay, that's something to think about.
I love that.
It was okay.
No, it was really good. Something that reminded me of from last year when we did the buyer's side of this was a really solid intro. It was like, what if I told you that in this example, what if I told you that by paying me the full 3% and unlocking the full potential of all of my services and everything, that I'm actually going to be able to net you more than the agent who's doing this for a discounted rate? I think we're more focused on, and another way of saying that is, again, let's make sure we're not putting the emphasis on the wrong syllable here. I'd venture to say that what is important to you as a seller is what you walk away from this transaction with, not what you're paying for the transaction. Right? Like, let's put in order of priority, and maybe that's not the case for every seller, but I'd bet that's the case for the vast majority of sellers, right? It is more important that you walk away with the most amount in your pocket. And if I told you that I can almost guarantee that I will net you more while paying just a little bit more and paying what I'm worth and unlocking that full potential, doesn't that make sense? Yeah? Cool. Yeah, but I mean, even that, like, you could for sure, but how are you going to be able to prove that? Hmm. So, like, just comparing net sheets right off the bat? Yeah. Got it.
I've only done it once. I won't do it on every, but if we're start at the price doesn't have to drop the price, I'll drop it.
Love it.
Was that conversation?
Yeah. Yeah. One of the
I don't do it every week.
No,
Like,
and that's
I
what I
only did
wondered
it once.
too. Like, if you don't do it and you get to a certain point where you're not doing like
Yeah. Here's
the conversation, like
Sometimes though that can be the hard thing about that is be so subjective because one, if we're not communicating often enough or they don't understand like they don't have an experience with students, maybe they know they're getting a lot of showing, but for us it's easy to understand like how much potential this has, how well this is doing based on our interaction with other agents. Obviously, sellers have how many showings we're getting, which maybe they know of, but if they're just leaving the house for a time period, they may not know exactly how much activity they're getting. So that's just like one thing that could go wrong in that scenario. That a subjective opinion of like I don't feel like we're providing promise, even though there's objective for it.
right. So yeah, I guess like
totally. And there's so many things that we can do, like a weekly activity report, like immediate feedback, all of those kinds of things compiled in really, really beautifully presented, ways, spreadsheets, documents, all of that kind of stuff, like communicating how many views we're getting, how many likes, shares, and all of that kind of stuff that we're getting. So that can help a ton. One thing, so I was working with an agent in Park City just a couple of months ago that was absolutely killer. Like she was so good, so dialed, right? And one of the coolest things we kind of like I'll call her for like random questions that I have. We ended up not transacting on this deal together, but it was like multi-million-dollar transaction. She's a badass agent, right? And one of the coolest things that really stuck with me when she said this was she goes, look, if this listing doesn't sell at this price point, it has nothing to do with what I am doing. I can tell you that. And she said that to her sellers too, where she was like so confident in the service that she was giving and the marketing that she was doing, right? That if it didn't, she told me, she's like, I told my sellers, if it doesn't sell at this price point, it has nothing to do with what I'm doing. Meaning it has everything to do with the price, right? Like that the market is just rejecting it at this price point, right? Now you have to really know your shit, right? And be able to say days on market that we're expecting in this price range is X, Y, and Z, right? So you're not just shooting yourself in the foot, but you have to set those expectations with your seller very, very, very clearly up ahead of time. So that way they're not coming at you with subjective data. They're coming at you with, you told me that, like we had discussed, or in response to this, you could say, we had discussed that the average days on market in this area, in this price point is 35, right? I understand that we want this to go quicker. We are still well underneath that days on market or whatever the stat is. You know what I mean? Right? And I can promise you that if blah, 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 if it doesn't sell at this price point, I am doing everything in my power, right? Everything in a real estate agent's power. This will have nothing to do with me. And we may need to drop the price at that point. We're also talking about price drops ahead of time as well, right? And we're really, we could make, as a listing agent, right, within reason, you can make a property sell for whatever price point they want it to. Just depends on how much they want to put into it. You know what I mean? There's so many levers that we can pull with paint, staging, remodels, changing flooring, right? Redoing the carpet, like all of this kind of stuff, like changing out countertops. Like there's so many things that we can do to get the price that they want to get, right? And we are, you know, we just have to be able to very eloquently and succinctly tell them that. Okay. Glenn, you asked a question on here. Oh, it was a direct to me. Can you repeat the what if I told you thing? So yeah, it was what if I told you it was possible for me to net you more while charging my full 3%, right? Or some iteration of that. If I told you it was possible that I'm going to get you more money while you're paying me to unlock my full suite of services, that probably makes more sense for you, doesn't it? Right? You're probably more paying, we should be paying more attention to what you're walking away from this transaction with rather than what you're paying to get it done.
I'm an investor.
Mm.
The client is an investor. Like, we can have a time.
Yes. I love that. I love that.
It needs like
Right. Investing in a good real estate agent is exactly that. It's investing, right? And and nobody's going to make an investment without a sound ROI, right? Without a sound return on the investment. And that is what I'm here to make super clear throughout this process is and help you realize is the return on this investment. Love that. Yeah.
They underlisted the house by 140 grand.
Yes.
They lost $140,000 to pay one person.
Totally. Yep. Crazy.
Betting more
Or paying less. Yep. Yeah.
Just because that's their personality, and that's totally fine. We're not going to work.
Yeah.
Great. But most people will be like, no, I love so amount of money.
Right. Totally. Because they don't understand what the services that they're paying for unlocks for them. Right. And that's exactly what your listing presentation should deliver is these are all of my services. And by paying me this, you're unlocking every single one of these things. Therefore, you're getting the most. We have to switch the lens of this should not have anything to do with what you're paying. This should have everything to do with what you're walking away with. Totally. Yep.
I'll pay $1 million all time. So really
Yeah. Yep. Gabby says in here, I'm also huge on transparency. I never want to show up to the closing table, which is your last touch point, with any surprises. I always say before we accept any offer that we will go over all of the numbers in an estimated settlement statement, go over it line by line, and only accept an offer that you're comfortable with. Totally. Yep. Yes. Totally. Yep. Yeah. Totally. And if you guys haven't already, like download the Novation app It is that app that they just rolled out is so awesome. The net sheet, like you don't have to ask them for a net sheet. You can just plug it all in there, and they have a multiple offer page as well that where you can compare offers and the net that they would get on those offers. It's so sweet. So they're going over their farming tool. Yep. Okay, so we're at time, so I want to get you guys out of here, but just want to shout out for everybody here. Carly had said in the chat here, the more solid, to Walker's point, same thing. The more solid, confident, and valuable your listing presentation is, the less objections that you'll get. Bring proof of everything you're going to have done. Give so much value that they sign with no hesitations. If you get an objection, you immediately know. She goes, I immediately know I didn't do my job during the listing presentation. Right? Okay. And Gabby had said very similar to what Mona said. I view taking on listing your home really as an investment. I have skin in the game as well to net you the highest amount. I don't get paid unless I sell it for what you need to net. 3% is what I need in order to take on the risk and market it at the highest level to give you the most exposure, which will ensure we can sell it for the highest amount possible. So it is. Yes. Totally. Once the job's done. Totally. Yep.
That show 4%. This is what you get at this. So then when they're like, well, I can only do 2%, flip the sheet and go, great. Which one of these do you want me to not?
Yeah.
You can self-fund those too if you don't want to pay me, or I can take care of you.
Yeah.
Well, I want all of it. Great. This is what it costs.
Very cool. Very cool. Okay, you guys. Thank you so much. Again, next week we are going over marketing and farming for listings. That's going to be 2 weeks of that. And then after that, we are really diving into, now we'll have the full suite of everything that the team offers, everything that you offer. So then the 3 weeks after that is all about creating your value, your unique value proposition, something that is so true to you that nobody else can say. It feels really awesome. And then we're pressure testing it. Cool? Okay. Thanks, you guys. Bye.